Good afternoon, folks. Buenas tardes. This is for entertainment purposes only, okay? For entertainment purposes only, right? Let's just say that I was an Indigo Child and I'd come back here to check things out because things weren't adding up, okay? For entertainment purposes only. Big picture, everything, okay? These are quite big things nowadays, aren't they, in society? People are running their lives according to these things, right? We can look at this one first, the thrust in a vacuum. Something that clearly cannot work. Look, objective, Indigo Child, for entertainment purposes only. Thrust in a vacuum, where there is zero resistance, where nothing that you do when you're in that vacuum, nothing you do will allow you to interact with it, okay? Meaning, thrust wouldn't work in a vacuum, okay? Because you're basically trapped in your own environment. Nothing you do will interact with the vacuum. So, as an Indigo Child, I would say, it's just ridiculous. How have people fallen for it? Then, for entertainment purposes only, I'd move over to the speed of light. And everything that has been said about this absurdity, I would then obviously go to the one cosmic event that everybody is privy to. No barriers, no curtains, nothing. Everybody can see it. And I'd watch it and I'd go, what are they talking about? This 8-minute and 20-second delay. I would be surprised. Even if I wasn't an Indigo Child, I would be stunned if anybody thought somehow, somewhere, there was an 8-minute and 20-second photon delay. Because during solar eclipse, when you're looking at it, and the moon and the sun directly in line with the shadow that is being cast, and you have people standing in that shadow, it would be amazing if people actually thought the sun wasn't there for entertainment purposes only. So I'd be stunned. So these two straight away, I'd be like, what's going on? What is going on? What's wrong with people thinking this stupid stuff? And then we've got the gravity thing, haven't we? The moon and Earth. By the way, I answered 2 or 3 comments, but nobody picked up on the wrong diameter of the moon. I didn't do it on purpose to test people. I actually got it wrong. It's 3,747, not 4,747. So, with the gravity thing, after weighing everything up and having a look at everything, understanding that the smaller bodies of water on this planet, for some reason, are not affected by this bizarre gravitational pull that's coming from the moon and actually managing to create a bulge in the so-called planet Earth. A bulge at the front and a bulge at the back, because as this planet is spinning, it's creating a centrifugal force. And because the moon is this side, here's the first bulge, the bulge at the back, the moon isn't strong enough on that side, right? So what happens is Earth's centrifugal force pushes a bulge of water out of the back. So you've got a forward bulge and a rearward bulge. Now, knowing that the moon's diameter is only 0.27 of Earth's diameter, and also knowing that the moon is a distance of 110 of itself away from Earth, that's 30 Earth diameters away from Earth, I would seriously question this gravity thing. And then I'd probably go, well, where did this gravity thing come? Who? And then it would send me to Newton. And then I'd look at the dates and I'd go, as an Indigo Child, for entertainment purposes only, I'd probably say something like, what the fuck? This is ridiculous, right? And then, on closer inspection, photons, the thrust in a vacuum, everything goes towards this Newton in the 1600s. I'd be absolutely amazed if a large number of people had actually fallen for this bullshit. As an Indigo Child, because it's for entertainment purposes only. And then, obviously, Pyramid Giza. The pyramids on the Giza Plateau would come up, and I would be looking at them thinking, they believe that these things are only 4,500 years old. This is what these people believe. They've been lied to, obviously. This is what I would be saying. And I would look at the structures, and I'd most definitely think that they had been submerged, especially when you see pictures like this one here, right? I would look at it and I'd go, you know what? Those things are ancient, I'd say to myself. And then I'd look a bit closer, I'd go, look at the top of that middle one, the big one. That looks like it's smooth compared to that looks like a water erosion mark on the north, south, east, and west faces of the pyramid. That's what I'd say, most definitely. And then I'd look at the rest of them, at all of the three pyramids below the water erosion mark. That definitely doesn't look like cannonball marks or, scars or lightning scars or something that's happened in an earthquake. And there's quite a lot of other stuff like this. Now, all of these things, I'd be very surprised that somebody who could think for themselves would believe any of it, as for entertainment purposes only, as an Indigo Child, who would come back here just to, see what the is going on. Now, when you put all of these things together, and you say to yourself, what's going on? So we've got these massive stone structures that copper hand tools are. One doesn't really need to be an Indigo Child, I wouldn't think, to realise how ridiculous it is, really, when you think about it, when there's not even an explanation for how one single look, do we have to do this, right? The gravitational pull of the moon, so far away, so small, but making such a bulge, but not affecting any of the other water bodies on this planet. That right there, it's a big, fat, it defies common sense and it defies logic. Whether you like to think it does or not is irrelevant, because it does defy common sense and logic. The same as this does. And the same as thinking that the sun is not directly behind the moon during a solar eclipse. This would then confuse me. And I wonder, how on earth have so many people been talked into all of this obvious rubbish, right? And then I'm talking to a lot of these people, this cognitive dissonance of people just can't seem to change their minds about certain things. Then you'd start to go, hang on a minute, This is early age stuff. This has been drummed into these people when they were children. And that is quite a crime. In fact, as an Indigo Child, for entertainment purposes only, it would be quite upsetting, especially when you have children of your own on this planet, because there's this thing that you say about shoulders of giants. You think you're riding on the shoulders of giants, but you're not. It's about liars and charlatans claiming knowledge that cannot be known and claiming achievements that won't ever be achieved. And then there are two sides to this story. You have some people who look at these things and they know that it's BS. But then you have the people that swear by them, and there is this big, massive wedge in between the two that we'll call it division. Now, again, cognitive dissonance, not being able to change one's mind, etc., etc. It all points to something a little bit odd. Why all of this stuff? And then, of course, we have the planet round, spinning, and then we have this talk of a flat Earth. Now, it's a funny one. For somebody, for entertainment purposes only, who all of their life had thought the planet was round, didn't have a reason to think otherwise, it never really came up. It was a few comments when we were children at school. Round, space, moon. They landed on the moon. Okay. But it never really became much of a thing. And then, years later, after having lived here for so many decades and hearing about the flat Earth, but before hearing about it, already knowing that all of this crap is just crap. It's children's fairy tales. That's who should be believing this, not adults. Adults shouldn't be believing that the sun is not directly behind the moon during a solar eclipse. There was the 1, 2, 3, and 4 things I wrote on the board. Number 1 was a fact is information without emotion. And the 4th one was stupidity is an opinion that ignores a fact. We won't worry about the other 2 in between. An opinion that ignores a fact is stupidity. The sun is not directly behind the moon, you're telling me. As an Indigo Child, for entertainment purposes only, after putting all of this together and understanding human nature and the lies and the way that people can be manipulated, it would lead me towards doing this on a blackboard. Because when you have something like this, it isn't enough to talk about it. Now, you obviously cannot trust artificial bollocks intelligence because it's programmed by liars and charlatans, okay? What you have to do in a situation like this, being objective, right, being totally objective, you have to put a lot of personal experiences and mix it up with all of this stuff. Like the tides, high, low, pyramids, understanding 2,300,000 2.5 ton blocks being moved by 25,000 Egyptians. That's just a numbers game, isn't it? But the photons, the sun, having observed and play about, and understanding that there is no light delay to talk of. Understanding that Roma and Bradley and Wheatstone and Fizeau and Arago, that they are all interlinked with Newton, who is very heavily linked in with all of this rubbish, which leads me to relativity, which is also something that defies common sense and logic. Now, if I were an Indigo Child for entertainment purposes only, remember, I would have put all of the information I have together in a package, and I would have taken a little bit of time to think, a little bit of time out. After drawing this and putting all of this together, I would have probably come up with a conclusion, and I would have said to myself, well, there seems to be way too much energy being put into distracting people from the planet that they live on, knowing that they haven't been to the moon, because it's an insult to people's intelligence to think that between 1969 and 1972, with nowhere for astronauts to really train in the vacuum of space or landing in 1/6 of Earth's supposed gravitational pull, all of a sudden you will understand that there is something going on here, right? Now, it's more than obvious, right, that the 4 things on that board, those 2 boards, are lies. It doesn't matter what people say. It's one of those again, okay? Couple of comments that I've answered since my Simandan special, where, somebody drops 2 people links. A link. Here, link. This proves that thrust works in a vacuum. Listen, mate. Listen, mate, times 2. Don't drop me a freaking link. Explain it to me. You've seen the link. I don't do links. I'm not gullible. You've seen the link. You've obviously understood it. Just explain it to me. Don't point me towards somewhere else, to one of these Mickey Mouse links that the place is flooded with in the first place. Have I ever dropped a link to explain to you why thrust in a vacuum doesn't work? Or why there is no light delay coming from the sun? Have I ever dropped a link? No. I've explained it step by step myself to you. But you think, look, here's a link. Give me a break. Seriously, links. This is one of the tragedies. Plus your devices, your reality is here. Very easy to manipulate. They've lied. Liars and charlatans. Blatant lies. Don't know how they've gotten away with it. With all the chaos, quite easy, I suppose. So here we are. A flat Earth. Now this one, I did this yesterday. I was going to do a post last night, but I was too tired. So what I did, this is a polar projection, right? It's in the Funk and Wagnalls, and here it is, right? You've got Australia at the top there, and we've got South America at the very bottom, North America there, and that is the North Pole, obviously Antarctica all the way around. We've got China, we've got the Middle East, we've got the Mediterranean, we've got Africa there, okay? It's to scale. I used all the lines and everything, right? See, it's to scale, give or take a millimetre. Now, a couple of things that, again, it's one of those things where it doesn't really matter what people say. It's more than obvious, right? That these have been submerged, okay? It is. It's okay if you think Napoleon did it. It's okay if you thought lightning bolts did it. I'm talking about that ridge, that water erosion around the top of Giza on the north, south, east and west faces. It's okay if you think people scurried up in the middle of the night and took bits down to build a bakery in Cairo, as I say. It's all right if you think that, but it's wrong. They're stupid, illogical thoughts, right? That don't make any sense. They really are, okay? There's red, 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 red. Those 5 reds, can you see the colours? Those 5 reds, right, are all the highest tide on Earth. There's 2 blue ones, right? There's one there. It's the Mediterranean. That's where I grew up. That's the Gulf of Mexico. I put blue there and blue there. The reason I put blue there is because the tides are basically non-existent. Basically non-existent. There's a bit of action here at the Keys and the little islands, but when you come to the actual Gulf of Mexico, the tide, it's basically non-existent compared to most of the other places on the planet. The same can be said for the Mediterranean. The yellow one right there, that is just the very centre of the map. That's where I put the fishing line and drew the lines to make the scale to do the map. So the yellow is central. The gold one, that's where the pyramids are in Egypt. So that's all that's on there. The 5 highest tides, the 2 non-existent tides in big bodies of water, the pyramids and the centre of the map. So what is that showing? What is this? What are we looking at here? Well, what do I see? I'll tell you what I see. What I find, one of the things that amazes me the most is how the UK, Ireland, how that Mediterranean inlet, how they're all facing down, as if to the south, because they always gave the impression of kind of looking looking west. There's the Mediterranean, and there's the UK, kind of facing that way. But when it's spread out like this, it changes everything. Now, am I saying that the world is flat? No, of course not. Am I saying that the world is round? No, of course not. What am I saying? I'm saying that with all of the evidence, it seemed this was the next logical step. Understanding that there is no gravitational pull from the moon anywhere to be seen, right? If there were, the other bodies of water, like the lakes, the Mediterranean, even the Gulf of Mexico, there would be more action, right? A lot more action. Now, what we have is massive currents up here, Alaska, which I need to finish off, massive currents in the Bristol Channel, massive currents in Ungava Bay in Quebec, and massive currents in the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia, and Los Gallegos down in the southern tip of Argentina. the pyramids, knowing that they've been submerged, have to understand that they've been submerged for a long time. That amount of water doesn't happen on the globe, if it were a globe. Therefore, this one, again, seems like the obvious choice because it does make sense. It does make sense. And then, being objective, you have to. There is no way of not bringing in Noah's flood. There is talk, loads of, not civilizations, but loads of different, there's stories that go back thousands of years of floods, mysterious floods, right? It's one of those things that cannot be ignored anymore. You cannot ignore it, okay? Pyramids have been submerged. They're ancient. Ancient! Egyptians, anybody who tells you the Egyptians built the pyramids is lying to you or doesn't have any common sense. Same as the person who told you to drop your common sense. Lying to you or has no common sense in the first place. I mean, to believe this garbage, you'd have to have no common sense to tell you the truth. It's no good jumping up and down, throwing your teddy in the corner. I'm being objective and just telling you the truth. People don't like the truth, do they? Don't know why. It's liberating. It's better than living somebody else's freaking reality while they get rich and laugh at you. Just saying, as an Indigo Child, if entertainment purposes only, right? There are a few things going on that make no sense whatsoever. The moon doesn't have anything to do with any of the movement of water on the planet or on the flat Earth. It doesn't matter if the moon is spinning around here because it is still not moving any of the other bodies of water. The only thing it's moving is the oceans. That cannot be, not with the size of some of these water bodies. Slam dunk. The moon has nothing to do with the movement of water on this planet. It cannot, because there are enough other bodies that are more than big enough that they would shift slightly one way or the other. All right? No point in throwing teddies in the corner. Now we come to the currents, the rogue waves, and the crazy tides. Knowing that it isn't the moon, and it isn't, right? Let me just say something here. If you think that places like the Bay of Fundy can have a 70-foot tide movement, and there are some lakes that aren't too far away from two of the biggest areas, and there, that the tide moves, I'm going to say this, right? If you think it's normal for some of the biggest lakes on the planet to not move a millimeter while there is a 60-foot swell tide change on both of the opposite coasts to where the lakes are, you're stupid. I'm sorry, you're stupid. You have no idea, no rational thought process. It means you're gullible. I'm sorry, it had to be said in a nice, endearing way, okay? It is illogical. It doesn't make sense. Another thing, one of my observations, if I was fishing, every time I've been fishing, it doesn't matter where, when I've been out deep, whether in Florida, in Gulf of Mexico, in the Mediterranean, in Australian waters, the current will come one way, it will come up to the top, it will hang about for a bit, no man's land, and then it recedes. But in the same direction. I mean, in the direction that it came from. That is illogical. So here's the thing. I slam dunk this. It is not the moon. There is no gravitational force at play from the moon or the sun. It is a myth. Once again, the other bodies of water would move, but there is no movement. Okay? I'm not going to say the stupid thing again. I've already said it once. Therefore, there is something in this earth, on this earth, underneath the water, that is displacing the water. There is something on this flat, round, whatever you want to call it, that is displacing the oceans. It's almost as if something is going. I'm not saying that there's something breathing, but there is something displacing a hell of a volume of water on this planet. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is, over the next few days, I'm going to have to start having a look at where the higher tides are, where the lower tides are, how much difference there are between them, to try and find some kind of pattern. I don't see anybody else doing it. I don't see anybody else even close to this, do you? I see people calling the flat earth and arguing with the round and the flat. I, my entire life, thought it was round. I had dissed all of this rubbish, childish rubbish. Stuff that children should believe, not grown-ups, not adults, told that the freaking sun isn't behind the moon during a solar eclipse. What is that? Again, it's a little bit stupid if you ask me. Sorry, the gloves are off. There comes a time when things need to be said. Wake up. Honestly, it's annoying. It really is. People arguing. It's almost as if you think it's cool to be arguing. It's not even about the things anymore. It's just the argument, the cognitive dissonance. I don't even think half of you don't understand the science. That's obvious, right? You don't. You cannot understand any of that science if you believe the absurdities that it represents. You've got this thing, this majority thing, where you think you're safe in numbers. Well, you're not. It's the numbers, the majority, that is dragging this planet down because you have stopped thinking as individuals. And need I say more? Listen, this is just, if I had come back as an Indigo Child, this is probably the kind of things I'd be saying. But it's for entertainment purposes only, isn't it? Something here on this is displacing the water that is creating the tides and that is creating the currents. I have said this before and I will say it again. Every now and again, this, I was going to say planet, Earth does one. And that does one is done with water. The evidence is everywhere. To deny it, okay, like you deny everything else. Bravo, bravo. I obviously going to have to go through, see if I can find a pattern. You know, in the Gulf of Mexico has zero, next to zero. Look at the angle that this is placed. This is protected. If there was a big something here where the water was coming up, it would go down and up and it would go left and right. but it wouldn't go in because of Florida. It would go down there, create a bit of turbulence down there. Up here, it would go down, it would go up towards Norway, where there's a thing called the maelstrom, where it's the strongest currents on this planet. But again, it would hit Portugal and France on the Atlantic side, the west. I say west, it looks south. But it would miss the mouth of the Mediterranean, wouldn't it? It wouldn't go in. Don't know about down there, haven't looked at it, but there is already something is going on. Might be too much for some people to accept, but you accepted this lot, so maybe it's time for a change. All right, that's going to be it for now. Nearly dropped it. This was for entertainment purposes only. If I were an Indigo Child, if I had come back to check things out before action was taken, this is probably things I would have been saying. But it's for entertainment purposes only, okay? Peace. I will be back.